President Trump tweeted that his July 4th celebration will be the show of a lifetime. Indeed, it will be a spectacle, but one that pales in comparison to the unconscionable spectacle that is the humanitarian crisis at our southern border. The cost of our great salute to America tomorrow will be very little compared to what it is worth. We own the planes, we have the pilots, the airport is right next door, Andrews. All we need is the fuel. We own the tanks and all. Fireworks are donated by two of the greats. Nice. Trump tweeted Wednesday morning. Carl Manley said Donald Trump only wants to do this for self-gratification. This has nothing to do with the 4th of July. Melina Lobato has replied. Kate writes, so it's bad that people that support our Second Amendment, the right to protect ourselves against others and our government, gave him money and he accepted it? How is that unpatriotic? Guns don't kill people. People kill people, always have, regardless of firearms. The involvement of military assets, from fighter jets to tanks to armored vehicles, has created logistical headaches that are likely to take lots of money to resolve. But beyond the military demonstrations, Trump's planned presence on the National Mall will likely rack up huge security costs that go beyond what a traditional July 4th event requires. What's happening and how to watch. Trump's Salute to America event is set to parallel to the capital city's traditional 4th of July celebration, which will still be taking place along other parts of the National Mall. Those celebrations, per usual, will include a parade, concerts, and fireworks, teeing up what will likely be a confusing, jam-packed security professional's worst nightmare, according to a press release from the Department of the Interior. Trump's event begins at 6:30 p.m. and will include the president honoring America's armed forces with music, military demonstrations, flyovers and much more. Participants include the Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps, the U.S. Army Band, Pershing Zone, the Armed Forces Chorus, the United States Marine Corps Silent Drill Team, and many others. Gates open at 3 p.m. At some point Trump is expected to give a speech, and there will be a separate fireworks show after Trump concludes his remarks. Meanwhile, on the other side of the mall by the Capitol, the traditional Capitol 4th concert event is scheduled to begin at 8 p.m. Featured performer Carole King pointed out on Twitter that the Capitol 4th concert is distinct from Trump's event, which she is not participating in. I am not participating in T's political rally, she wrote. A Facebooker Heidi Thier said that, do any of you realize that we are celebrating the birthday of this country? Thank God we have a president who loves this country and is proud of being a patriot. Unlike you Democrats who want to destroy this country. The majority of Americans are proud of the USA. We are proud that finally we have a president who serves the will of the people to make this country the best it can be. Trump's event is open to the public, to a point. The White House has distributed VIP tickets to Trump's political allies, creating the perception of partisanship. Government watchdog groups and Democratic politicians have raised concerns following a HuffPost report about how the Republican National Committee has been offering major donors tickets to Trump's speech, as have political appointees at the White House and executive branch agencies. Talking Points memo later obtained a newsletter from the Maryland GOP indicating that the state party was given a number of tickets to a VIP area close to the stage where Trump is scheduled to deliver his speech. Some tickets have been distributed to military families, but there's no indication that Democrats have been invited to the VIP area. Not only does the event have the appearance of a party thrown by Trump for his supporters, but if passed as precedent, Trump will almost certainly veer into politics during his speech, as he's regularly done during other official White House speeches that weren't supposed to be campaign-related, and during visits to American troops abroad. Federal law prohibits the executive branch from using public resources for a political event, but as Trump advisor Kellyanne Conway's repeated consequence-free violations of the Hatch Act demonstrated, the Trump White House isn't particularly concerned about those sorts of things. Trump is finally getting the military celebration in D.C. he's long wanted. Although the U.S. military regularly conducts PR events, flyovers at a baseball game, for instance, government-sponsored celebrations of the military like the one being planned for this July 4th aren't a normal occurrence in the United States. But Trump isn't a normal president. Trump's interest in staging a military parade of sorts dates back to July 2017, when he attended Bastille Day celebrations in France. When French President Emmanuel Macron visited the White House months later, Trump indicated he was interested in having a military parade in D.C. "I think we're going to have to start looking at that ourselves," Trump said. "We're actually thinking about 4th of July, Pennsylvania Avenue, having a really great parade to show our military strength. Planning work began on a military parade of sorts, set for Veterans Day 2018. But last August, as reports swirled that the cost of the event was approaching $100 million, Trump announced on Twitter that the plans were being scuttled, and he tried to pin blame for it on Washington, D.C. officials. It's unclear exactly how much Salute to America will cost. On Tuesday, The Washington Post reported that the National Park Service is diverting nearly $2.5 million in entrance and recreation fees primarily intended to improve parks across the country to cover costs associated with President Trump's Independence Day celebration Thursday on the Mall. Money that is typically used to enhance the visitor experience either on the Mall or at smaller parks across the country. On Twitter, Senator Bernie Sanders, IVT, cited the Post's report and described the diversion of funds from the Park Service as what authoritarians do. But Trump downplayed it, without acknowledging the full scope of the staffing and logistical costs. Tanks but no tanks. "We know that the Salute to America event will feature flyovers from the Navy's Blue Angels." More controversial, however, has been Trump's plan to feature tanks during an Oval Office event on Monday. President Donald Trump told reporters that some sort of tank demonstration will indeed be part of the event, but in so doing, he accidentally revealed how seat of the pants the whole thing is. "We're gonna have some tanks stationed outside. You've got to be pretty careful with the tanks because the roads have a tendency not to like to carry heavy tanks, so we have to put them in certain areas. But we have the brand new Sherman tanks and we have the brand new Abram sick tanks," Trump said, asked what she'll be watching for on Thursday. Authoritarianism expert Ben Gayat said, "Trump using the military as a prop for his personality cult. Another is that Trump has shown that he's the president only for some Americans, white Americans," she added. "July 4th is supposed to unite and always has united Americans in celebrating our freedom, but it would be unusual if he didn't use the speech to further his own partisan agenda." Unease over the event reportedly extends into the White House as well, but for very different reasons. On Wednesday, Politico reported that administration officials and Trump allies are wringing their hands over the risk of the hastily arranged event morphing into Trump's Inauguration 2.0, in which the size of the crowd and the ensuing media coverage do not meet the president's own outsized expectations for the event. Unease over the event reportedly extends into the White House as well, but for very different reasons. On Wednesday, Politico reported that administration officials and Trump allies are wringing their hands over the risk of the hastily arranged event morphing into Trump's Inauguration 2.0, in which the size of the crowd and the ensuing media coverage do not meet the president's own outsized expectations for the event. Unease over the event reportedly extends into the White House as well, but for very different reasons. On Wednesday, Politico reported that administration officials and Trump allies are wringing their hands over the risk of the hastily arranged event morphing into Trump's Inauguration 2.0, in which the size of the crowd and the ensuing media coverage do not meet the president's own outsized expectations for the event.